Hey everyone, welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner, where I share with you some of the meals that I've made throughout the week. I really enjoy making these videos and I would love if you would hit that subscribe button and stick around. And also don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any dinner inspiration. So as the temperature outside drops and it gets colder, I can't help but want to cozy on up with a warm bowl of stew or soup. So in this week's recipe, I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favorite fall recipes. So keep on watching. So the first recipe I'm going to share with you guys is probably one of my favorites, and it's this delicious, creamy carrot and ginger soup. It is so delicious and so easy to make. So what you're going to need for this recipe is 2 large onions, 1.5 teaspoons of ginger minced, 7 to 9 carrots diced, 3 cups of vegetable broth, 2 tablespoons of oil, and salt and pepper to taste. So the first thing you're going to want to do is wash and cut all of your veggies. You're then going to heat up some oil in a large saucepan, and you're going to add your onions and saute them until they become translucent. Add some salt and pepper. You're then going to add your ginger and saute for another minute. Add your carrots and your vegetable broth and bring to a boil. Add some salt and pepper. You're then going to reduce the heat to low and simmer for about 30 to 35 minutes. Once the carrots are cooked, you're going to turn off the heat, set it aside, and let it cool down for a little bit. Once the soup has cooled down, you're going to puree the soup using an immersion blender. Now don't do the same mistake that I made right here. You want to make sure that you have enough liquid to cover up the tip of your immersion blender, or else it's going to splatter everywhere. So if you don't have enough liquid, just go ahead and transfer your soup into a smaller saucepan. This soup can be stored in the refrigerator for up to 4 days and in the freezer for up to 4 months. I love to garnish my soup with some sour cream and some fresh pepper. It is completely delicious and so perfect for the fall season. Next up is beef stew. Now I got this recipe about 4 or 5 years ago from Laura Vitale, and it is by far the best stew I've ever had. I'll have the link to the original recipe down below if you guys want to go check it out. She has some pretty amazing recipes on her website. So what you're going to need for this recipe is 4 pounds of sirloin tip roast or chuck roast that you're going to cut into bite-sized pieces. You're going to need a 1/4 cup of flour, 3 tablespoons of oil, 2 onions diced, 4 to 5 potatoes cut into bite-sized pieces, 1 cup of red wine, 5 to 6 carrots cut into bite-sized pieces, 3 to 4 stalks of celery also cut into bite-sized pieces, 4 cloves of garlic minced, a 1/4 cup of tomato paste, 3.5 cups of beef broth, 1 bay leaf, 1 tablespoon of fresh thyme, 1 tablespoon of fresh rosemary, and salt and pepper to taste. So the first thing you're going to want to do is wash and prep all of your veggies. As you can see, I've already done that. So now I'm going to add some oil to a large pot and preheat it over high heat. And I'm going to heat it up until the oil is so hot that you can start seeing smoke. Then you're going to add your beef and season it with salt and pepper. Now I forgot to do this step, but you don't want to forget it because I promise you it will make this dish taste even better. And then you're going to cook it for about 6 to 7 minutes or until the meat has browned on each side. You're then going to remove it from the pot and set aside. And then to the same pot, and you want to keep all of those juices because those are all great flavors that you want to keep. You're going to add your onions, carrots, potatoes, garlic, and celery, and you're going to season it again with salt and pepper. You're going to cook this for about 5 to 6 minutes or until all of the veggies start developing some color. You're then going to add your flour and then stirring constantly. You're going to cook this for about 2 minutes. Then you're going to add your wine, and you want to make sure to scrape the bottom of the pot to lift off all of the brown bits. You're then going to add your tomato paste, your beef broth, your bay leaf, your thyme, and rosemary, and you're going to bring this to a boil. You're then going to add the meat and stir it well. Reduce the heat to low. You're going to cover and cook for about 2.5 hours. So this is what the stew looks like after it's all done, and it's completely delicious. The meat is so tender and it's so flavorful. This is definitely my go-to recipe for beef stew. Chili is definitely one of my favorite fall comfort food. A hot bowl of chili is sure to warm you up on a cold day. It is both delicious and so simple to make. So today I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite chili recipe, and the best part of it is it can be cooked right inside the slow cooker. Now for this recipe you're going to need 2 pounds of ground beef, 2 14.5 ounce cans of diced tomatoes with green chilies, 3 8-ounce cans of tomato sauce, 1 or 2 15-ounce cans of red kidney beans depending on your preference, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 2.5 teaspoons of ground cumin, 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of coriander, 2 teaspoons of cocoa powder, 1/2 cup of beef broth, 3 cloves of garlic minced, 1 large onion, mine are pretty small so I'm using 2 to 3 stalks of celery, and then some salt and pepper to taste. Now I'm going to wash and cut all of my veggies. I'm going to saute the onions and the celery for about 4 minutes or until the onions are translucent. Then I'm going to add the garlic and saute for another 30 seconds. Then you're going to transfer it over to your slow cooker. And then using the same skillet, you're going to cook your ground beef. Drain all of the fat from the beef and then pour your beef inside your slow cooker. You're then going to add your diced tomatoes, your tomato sauce, your beef broth, and all of your spices. Mix it all up. And then cover with the lid and cook on low for 5 to 6 hours. After 5 to 6 hours, you're going to add your kidney beans and allow it to heat through for about 2 minutes. And that's it, you guys. This is what it looks like. It's so delicious. You could serve it with any toppings that you would prefer. I like to serve mine with some cheddar cheese. Sometimes I'll add sour cream. It's also really good with some green onions and some roasted peppers. Are you tired of eating plain chicken noodle soup and are looking for a delicious and flavorful comfort soup to warm you up? Then this next recipe is for you. One of my favorite meals to make during the colder months is Acadian chicken Freako. Chicken Freako is a traditional Acadian dish that dates back to the 1700s. When the French settlers came to Canada back in the 17th century, they named it Acadia, which is now known as the Eastern Canadian provinces, such as New Brunswick, which is where I was born and raised, Prince Edward Island, and Nova Scotia. This Acadian Freako was actually passed down to me over many generations. Now, there are probably a ton of different variations, but I'm going to share with you how we make it here at home. It is very similar to chicken and dumpling soup, but what makes it a true Acadian Freako is mainly the herbs that we use to make it. So for this recipe, you're going to need 1 whole chicken, 1 onion, 1.5 tablespoons of summer savory, 6 large potatoes cubed, and 4 to 6 carrots cubed. And then these next two ingredients are optional. You can put in celery and rutabaga. Now for the dumplings, you will need 1 cup of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and 1/2 cup of cold water. So the first thing you're going to do is place the chicken and the onion in a large pot of water. You're then going to add your summer savory. Now as you can see, I just eyeball it and I probably put a lot more than 1.5 tablespoons, but I really love the taste of savory, so I always tend to put more. Then you're going to bring this to a boil and cover and let cook for about an hour. You'll know the chicken is cooked once the meat comes right off the bone easily. Now while the chicken is cooking, we're going to go ahead and prep all of our veggies. Once the chicken is cooked, you're going to remove it from the pot and strain the broth through a colander into another large pot or large bowl. You're then going to put your broth back on the stove and add the chicken and your veggies. Season it with salt and pepper and mix well. You're then going to cover it and cook until the veggies start getting tender. Now while the veggies are cooking, you're going to prepare the dumplings. In a bowl, you're going to add your flour, salt, and baking powder. Now for this next step, I prefer using my hands, so obviously you're going to make sure to wash your hands first. You're then going to gradually add your water and mix well. Once the veggies are tender, you're going to add your dumplings 1 spoonful at a time, and you're just going to gently place them on top of the broth. Cover and let cook for another 10 minutes or so. And here we have it, a delicious warm bowl of Acadian chicken Freako. This chicken Freako is so delicious and sure to warm you up on a cold day. Alright you guys, that is it for this video. I really hope this gave you some dinner inspiration. If you do decide to make some of these recipes, please let me know in the comments down below. I would love to know what you thought, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!